Now, we mustn't stop sharing the good news, but here's the deal, and here's the wonderful thing. It gets done along the way as you do discipleship. Great Commission is just about going disciple the nations, and you know what happens? As you disciple them, evangelism takes place. Because it's done in the context of discipleship. See, here's the issue. We have to reframe evangelism within the context of discipleship. You get to do it, but it's done as you disciple the nations. Now again, you're thinking at this stage, well, you know, this is kind of like a weird stuff. You know, what's he talking about? I would say, like, you can look at the life of Jesus and you can see it. But before we get there, we need to get some sort of definition going, don't we? Actually, before we get to that, they were going to have, if anyone knows me, I'm going to have a whiteboard. Now, I want you to try and dream with me here, because I don't. The app didn't work. And they don't have a whiteboard in this place, but be as it may. Try and paint a picture here, right? I'm going to put a line here, right? Now, look at the Church of Jesus. Look how Jesus does this, right? Who here wants to say in this room that the disciples in the Gospels were born again right up front? Anyone? No? Anyone want to say the middle? Were they born again somewhere in the middle of the journey? I don't know. They look pretty dumb to me. I don't think they got it, right? Towards the end? Yeah, more likely there. But I tell you what, even when Paul confesses that Jesus is the Christ, the very next thing he says, Jesus says, okay, I'm ready to go to the cross now. He says, dude, you can't go to the cross. No, Jerusalem, no way. He doesn't understand the cross. Now, in evangelical parlance means he's not saved. He doesn't understand the transaction of the cross. So no, he's not even there then. Now, when is it? I don't know. You don't know either. Probably what they call the Johannine Pentecost, when Jesus breathes on them and says, receive the Spirit, or Pentecost. I don't know, honestly. And neither do you. So here's the thing. If you look at what Jesus is doing, he's got a whole lot of pre-conversion disciples. In other words, he's just discipling them. They're not born again. Folks, that's what we should do. That's missional discipleship. That's Great Commission discipleship. Just disciple the nations. And in the way they get to hear the story of God through your life, and of course they are. But don't focus on the evangelism part, focus on discipleship. And that way you can get to play. See, somewhere in the middle of that line is, you can say, the born-again experience. I can't produce that, neither can you. Anyone else can produce a born-again experience? This comes from God, right? But we can just begin by discipling people, and Jesus does his magic on them somewhere along the line. That's his business, right? My business is disciple nations. Just be obedient to the Great Commission. So you've got pre-conversion, post-conversion discipleship. First of all, in the image of God, drawing out the Imago Dei, and then we're made into the image of Christ, the Imago Christi. It's kind of, once you're converted, once they're born again, you're kind of reformed into the image of Christ Jesus. That's the eternal purposes of God. And that's how it works. So I think it's a wonderful way of actually just getting on with what we're meant to get on with, the Great Commission by the resurrected Lord. Go and make disciples of the nations.